Wanted to mention a big thank you to many of those who subscribe to this channel. I mentioned last episode that 74%, over 74% of the people who watch our videos aren't subscribed. So we're breaking that number down a little bit.
Well, I subscribed. I just I hit the button that says subscribe, and like nothing happened. So I just did it. Maybe I might have even subscribed a few times. Could you subscribe more than once?
No, I think you could just subscribe once, to be honest.
All right, because most of the stuff that I'm involved in technologically doesn't really work. I don't know if it's a fault in the systems or just I don't know how the technology works. So I tend to have to repeat those things. So I saw this black button that says subscribe, so I hit subscribe because you mentioned it. So I'm sure many thousands of others did the same thing and became conscious of it. I never noticed it before.
Totally. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us back on the Daily Thread. Okay, so today happens to be the Yartzheit of your son-in-law, of my brother-in-law, Chaim Moishe ben Binyamin Tzvi. We had a beautiful Hachnasa Sefer Torah yesterday. Today's the Yartzheit, and it's been 4 years. 4 years since his passing.
Yeah, it's like you said, 4 years, and it's what can I tell you? It's a short time and also a long time.
Yeah.
4 years is relatively a very brief amount of time in the realm of things, generally speaking, in one's life. But at the same time, watching the family he left here evolve and develop and grow is just staggering and impressive. Really beyond words, frankly, to tell you how I really feel about it. You have to understand when he passed away 4 years ago, he had a 1-year-old, and today she's 5 years old, and she's a young lady, and the other kids, what can I tell you? I mean, David wasn't bar mitzvah yet. Today he's already 15 and a half, and Nissan is just a little bit behind him, about a year and a half behind him. He's 14 already. 14 plus a few months, and Yosef is starting to learn his parsha for his bar mitzvah, which is going to be in about a year and a half, and then Gabriel also, he's a young man, young mature man of almost 9 years old, and then Rosie, of course, who's named for my mother, like all the Rosies in our family, and it's just a remarkable thing to watch it. Evolve and unfold, and now they have an extraordinary stepfather in Jeremy. So we remember Moishe today and the role he played in our lives. And yesterday, like you said, we had a Hachanasa Sefer Torah. So Moishe is in our heart and on our minds, and his Sefer Torah is now always going to be in our arms.
Absolutely, and of course we would have loved to have done the Hachnasa Sefer Torah much sooner to commemorate his first Yartzheit, but COVID played a role in sort of pushing that out. But yesterday it was done. There was many people who came. We danced around the block. We sang. We danced. The kids danced at the Sefer Torah, and now the Torah is how Moishe lives on in this world.
So I think you'll show a little clip, maybe, if you have time, from yesterday.
Sure, I'll show a clip right here.
Yeah, show a little clip that you sent around to the family earlier today, and let's share it with the people who listen to us, and by virtue of them listening to us, they're in a way part of our lives every single day, I guess.
Getting to our first story for today, over the weekend, a lot happened. More than
the world changed.
Quite frankly, that's what happened. The world changed over the weekend. People woke up on Shabbos morning, Motzei Shabbos, turned on their phone, and they're like, SVB Bank collapsed. And you're like, what? That's the 13th largest bank, 13th or 16th largest bank in the country.
Yeah, 16th,
And they ultimately could not fulfill the deposits, the withdrawals, anything that people were trying to do in that bank. There are many people who've had tens of millions of dollars. One very notably, Oprah Winfrey had $590 million in that bank.
Oh,
we
yeah?
all know,
Really?
We all know that the FDIC, and what's insured is $250,000.
Yeah, per account,
So-
$250,000.
So for all those who don't know what happened, but why don't you give us a 60-second recap?
I read that Mark Cuban had $10 million in that bank too, by the way.
Oh, really?
Between $8 and $10 million. Well, what happened? It's called the Silicon Valley Bank, SVB, and it mostly serves Silicon Valley. And I saw a financial reporter said this morning that most of those companies are awash with cash. They got plenty of money. What happened with I guess they made some bad investments. They were deeply. This particular bank was deeply invested in treasury bonds and at low interest rate, and the interest rate went up tremendously. It doubled and tripled over the last year. So much for the strength of the Biden economy. And then what the Treasury people, what the financial people in Washington really feared is a domino process. That people are going to start panicking and starting withdrawing their money from all banks. And before you know it, the banking system will collapse. So, I don't want to scare anybody, but there's a bank here in New York that also was taken overnight by the federal government, Signature Bank, and they have a branch not far from our office here. In Cedarhurst, up in, I believe it's in Woodmere on Broadway. They have bank, and a lot of the local organizations and a lot of the business people in this community have their money in that bank. And from what I read, that bank's problem was they were deeply invested in cryptocurrencies. And
wow.
And they just Bitcoin. I don't know what Bitcoin is worth today, but it's not worth what it was worth 6 months ago or a year ago. So it's like if you go to Atlantic City or to Las Vegas and you make certain bets, or you bet on the Super Bowl on FanDuel. You could bet a couple of $1 million, and you could win or lose. If you lose, you lose.
Yeah.
Anyway, the government is assuring people, their actual depositors, that the money is going to be safe, that they can withdraw their money if they want to, starting today. It's going to be covered by some kind of smoke and mirrors thing, some kind of delusional things hatched by President Biden's Treasury people. And one of the lies he spewed this morning was that it's not going to cost the taxpayer anything. So where's the money going to come from? He says,
are they just going to be printing? Are they just going to be printing hundreds of millions of dollars? Like, how does this work?
No, he said the money's going to come from a special fund that banks pay in. I don't see how they're going to recover. I think the Silicon Valley Bank had over $220 billion in assets. Signature Bank over $100 billion in assets. But Biden said this morning that the management of these banks are going to be fired. So those guys need jobs. They're going to end up somewhere because they have great financial experience. It's like, Naki, it's like when you see on a shidduch resume that the father of the girl or the mother of the girl or the boy is in finance, and you're so very impressed they're in finance. Then you do a little bit of research, you find out that they owe $20 million to somebody. So listen, you could be deep in debt and you could be in finance. So it depends how you translate what that means. You're so far away from me on the screen, I can't see the reaction on your face. I can't see if you're...
I'm giving a little bit of a smirk.
I can't see if you're smirking or rolling your eyes.
Anyways, what does this mean for us? So here's a headline in Yeshiva World: concern in the Olam HaTorah. Balei Tzedakah had funds in SVP. They definitely got that wrong. It's SVB. We hope we'll survive. We'll survive the crisis. A number of well-known Balei Tzedakah who donate tens of millions of dollars to the Olam HaTorah had funds in the Silicon Valley Bank that collapsed on Friday. This was reported by Kikar HaShabbat. This is a huge crisis. An associate of one of the affected Balei Tzedakah told Kikar, "I know of many Balei Tzedakah who had their money there and didn't manage to withdraw it in time. This can harm a number of large kohalim that are supported by Gvirim who lost a lot of money in the collapse. A lot of tefillos are needed now. We hope we survive the crisis." So it's scary. It's scary because people actually lost millions of dollars overnight. And I'm just curious, does this mean that the bank, you said before that they had $220 million in assets.
Billion.
billion in assets. Does this mean that they have $0 left?
No, no, no. The money, there's plenty of money there. There's plenty of money there. It's just they didn't go broke. The government took it over because they didn't like the direction it was going in. So the government wants to get rid of the current management that's not doing the proper job, and put their own managers in place, and put the place back on the right track.
Well, how come people weren't able to withdraw money then if they had money in the bank?
I think things were a little bit up in the air, a little bit in turmoil. Overnight, I heard that the SVB Bank in England was bought by HSBC. So there are opportunities here for banks to take over these banks. And in the case of SVB or in Signature, a bank like Chase or some other large banks. Like Bank of America, maybe, or Chase, the larger banks may have an opportunity here to, get a few tens of thousands or more customers and take over tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars in assets. So it's an opportunity at the right time, under the right conditions, for some of the banks to expand their assets and their customer base. So in every disaster, there's always opportunities that could be taken advantage of and turned into a positive. But I saw a thing this morning. I don't know if I sent it to you, about a few more banks that may be on the radar screen of the feds. You have that? Did I send that to you?
You didn't, but I'd love to hear about it.
Okay, one of them is just to my left down the block. It's Dime Bank.
No.
Why are you are you in Dime Bank?
I am not.
We are. I have to tell you. I mean, we'll talk about it more when we get closer to that time. But that we're going away for Pesach to some friends of ours that run a hotel for Pesach, that are good friends of ours. And they sent out an email last night. If you're thinking about wiring us any money, don't until further notice. They don't want, because they're a Signature Bank, and they don't know if they're going to be able to get their money out. So they said, don't wire us any money. Okay, the banks that are on the Fed's radar are New York Community Bank, Dime Bank, and also First Republic Bank. So I don't know what First Republic Bank is. Community Bank, I know there's a branch somewhere in Brooklyn. I don't think these are big banks. Dime could be a big bank. But let me tell you something. 100 years ago, almost 100 years ago, there was a depression in New York. My mother used to tell me about it. She was a little girl. She was born here in New York. My mom was in 1921, and her father had a jewelry store in Manhattan, and business just collapsed in all sectors. Banks failed, businesses failed, and there was a depression that took years for the economy to recover, to come back. More recently, back in 2008, 2009, there was a big crisis when overnight big investment companies like Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns disappeared overnight, closed down, gone, vermacht, finished, gone. And people lost everything they had there. Now, what the president said this morning is that people's deposits are going to be safe, but investors in the bank, if you owned SVB bank stock, it's gone. You lost. So I don't know how much Oprah Winfrey had in bank stock, or if she had those cash assets. I don't know exactly what she had, but it's in the government's interest, obviously, to straighten everything out as soon as possible and maintain confidence in the banking system in the country. Now, in terms of the stock market, it was up a couple of 100 points. It's now down about just 31 points. So I think what that indicates, I've always thought of the stock market as being a barometer that takes the temperature of the country to see how it's feeling. So Right now it looks like it's feeling not so great, but not so bad.
I guess we'll see how things shake up over the next couple of weeks. This is obviously something that's troubling, and you're wondering how something like this happened. We're supposed to trust banks to act responsibly and hold on to our money, or at least invest it carefully, and it seems like that wasn't the case here.
Well, another thing I read in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend was that on Friday, just before the federal government took over SVB Bank, they paid bonuses to 8,000 employees. They paid bonuses of between $40,000 and $120,000 to 8,000 employees. You know how much money that is? You know how many millions and millions of dollars that is? So somebody here really is just watching out for themselves and not for their customers. And that's the part that, to me, is very unnerving and troubling.
100%. That is.
By the way, there's an SVB bank in Tel Aviv also. And there were pictures on the Israeli press of people trying to get into the SVB bank and the doors being locked. But I'm sure it'll all be straightened out by tomorrow morning.
You think so?
I think so. The United States of America, and that's another conversation we can have. Of course, the world has shifted more than just between two banks being taken over by the federal government. I don't know what you have on your phone there, but over the weekend, Saudi Arabia announced that they're renewing diplomatic relationships with Iran in an agreement that was facilitated, negotiated by China. So, slowly but surely, America is being kicked to the side of the road.
Well, Saudi Arabia has relations. Does Saudi Arabia still have relationships with Israel?
Saudi Arabia doesn't have official relationships with Israel, but Israel and Netanyahu has said since he became prime minister a few months ago that he's hoping to expand the Abraham Accords by being able to sign an agreement with Saudi Arabia. I think it's probably still possible. I don't think Iran wants to recruit Saudi Arabia to become anti-Israel, and I don't think it's in China's best interest either. The point is that Biden's asleep, trying to focus on equity on all levels without thinking about competence, which is sorely lacking in the Biden administration. And meantime, China and Russia and Iran and North Korea, and now the biggest player in the Middle East, the Saudis, are becoming the big kids.
Well, Joe is doing what Joe does.
Joe, I saw a thing this morning that said Joe thought that daylight savings was another bank.
Oh, very good. By the way, daylight savings, how's that been going for you?
It used to be a big deal for me. It doesn't matter to me now. The only thing that changes is what time you can daven Ma'ariv. That's the only thing that changes. What else changes in your life besides that? Or if you're a kid, we used to be very excited about changing the clock this time of year because that means we could stand outside and play a ball till much later in the evening.
Yeah. So
what does it mean to you?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I have a young child, so she's been waking up conceivably later. Because of the change of the clock. So this morning she woke up at 8:30, which is usually 7:30.
Maybe
it's great.
You should have moved your clock 2 hours ahead. Then she'd be waking up even later.
You know what? That's a great idea. I still, to be honest, I still think it's really goofy that we change the clock. I feel like it should stay on daylight savings times. I don't think we should change it back.
When you used to go to camp, they didn't change the clock in camp?
No, my camp didn't do camp time.
Oh, I don't know why, but almost every camp I ever went to always had camp time for some reason.
That's so weird.
I know. But why is it so weird? If you pick up the phone now and speak to somebody in Dallas, it's 2 hours earlier in Dallas. Or if you speak to somebody in Los Angeles, it's 3 hours earlier. That's not weird. Call Israel, and it's, what time is it here now? 1 o'clock? So it's 8 o'clock in the evening in Israel. Nothing weird about that.
You can't just change the clock in a camp and just like that. It just doesn't make sense to me. You can't just change imagine a yeshiva said, "Okay, we're adopting Israel time." You can't do that.
No, the reason they do that in other parts of the world is because of the position of the sun. Although there are parts of the world where it's daylight, so almost 24 hours a day.
Right.
Places like Alaska, in Iceland. You have the land of the midnight sun. The sun's always out. That's
something else. Something else that it means is that Fridays are now days where you can do stuff, and Shabbos day is a longer day, and bye are the Matzei Shabbosim of, I guess, hitting town. I don't know.
Maybe my life changed over the last 10 years or so. I don't hit the town.
No.
I'm not interested. A longer Matzei Shabbos doesn't mean that much to me.
There's a long Shabbos day. You maybe get an extra hour of your nap in.
No, because you reach a certain point in life when the more you sleep on Shabbos afternoon, the less you sleep on Saturday night. So there's no free ride. Everything's a quid pro quo.
Really?
One way or another, you got to pay. If you want to sleep 3 hours Shabbos afternoon, you can look forward to being up at 2 a.m. Sunday morning.
Must be hard.
Yes, it's not that difficult, but it's just one of those things that you have to consider. When I was your age, maybe a little younger, even I used to be able to sleep 12 hours Friday night to Shabbos morning, go to sleep 8 o'clock, wake up 8 o'clock. Nonstop without a break.
What do you think it is about getting older in age that makes you wake up at 4 a.m.?
I don't know. I saw it could be something emotionally. It could be physical. I saw something somewhere in a book that said sometimes you're in pain, your neck hurts, you sleep in the wrong position, your hand gets numb and it startles you up. I'll tell you that I saw a line in a book that said if you don't have pain by the time you're 60 years old, that's because you're probably dead. So when you reach 60, you pass 60, something's going to hurt you. It could be arthritis, it could be your wrist, it could be your hands, it could be your neck. I'm talking about nothing serious, just little things here and there. I had also I had a dream last week. You want to hear about my dream?
Oh yeah, what was that?
I don't know. I had a dream last week one night. I woke up. I was someplace in Manhattan, and I parked my car somewhere. And where the meeting was and what building it was in was inconsequential. I don't even know myself. All I know is that I came out and I couldn't find my car. It was a combination of I couldn't find my car and I forgot where I parked, And it was so frustrating. I had things in the car that I needed, and it was so real. I was so frustrated. But I can't tell you how surprised and glad I was when I woke up and it occurred to me. Probably when I woke up for the first 30 seconds, I was so upset that I couldn't find my car, and then I realized, oh my God, that was a dream. That's not real. My car's in the driveway, and I was so pleased that it was only a dream. But I'm sure, I don't know if you have any dreams like that ever, where you think something is really real, and then you wake up and you're so gratified that it was only a dream. You ever have a dream like that?
Sounds like a nightmare.
Well, it's a nightmare that turned into a dream.
Yeah, it happens.
That's happened to me. I have a recurring dream. I have a recurring dream where I have this dilemma because I used to work for this company back in the 1980s and 1990s, on a consultant basis. And I have this dream that I'm still getting paid from them, and I don't want to stop getting paid. But I have nothing to do, and I haven't done anything for them for the longest time. So why are they paying me?
That's very strange. Have you checked your bank account?
No, that's the dream. The money's not there. But then I wake up and I say, oh, my God, thank God that wasn't real, because this is crazy, because I was feeling, I don't know if I was feeling guilt or I was feeling upset, but I was in the office sometimes, and when I was in the office, there was nothing to do. Anyway, it started to sound crazy, even to me.
Yeah, well, anyways, tune in tomorrow for another episode of Daily Thread to hear more about my father's dreams. It's
I don't know if I can have as many dreams as you have episodes, so you're putting a lot of pressure on me.
Yeah. Well, anyways, count your dollars. Make sure your money is safe in the bank. We'll be back at you with another episode tomorrow of the Daily Thread.
Have a great day.